training we're going to be talking about how small children can develop musicality, and we're also going to look at different approaches to teaching music, for example kodaly and Dalcroze. And next week, in training number 2, we're going to be talking about solfege and Solfa and practical exercises that you can do at home with your child. And in training number 3, we're going to look at popular piano books for preschoolers and young children on how for them to learn the piano, and what sort of additional activities can you do at home with your child to help them along with their music studies. So tonight let's get on with training number 1, musicality and young children. Well, in today's training you're going to discover how you can get confident on what is the best, on how different approaches to teach your child the piano at an early age, starting from 0 to up to 7, how you can inspire your child and instill in them a desire to make their own music, to make, create and compose their own music, and how you can motivate your child to want to practice the piano, and what sort of approach can you use to teaching the piano to your child. Well, this is something that I've been looking at for some time. I've been teaching the piano, but it was mostly ages older children to adults. And just recently, over the last couple of years, I've started teaching preschoolers, which is a very young age. And it's very, very different, all the extra resources they need. And I've been looking into it and doing my own research. And as a result, I've now started studying the MA in Education for Early Years. And the module I'm doing is Early Years Music, which is specifically teaching how preschoolers learn music. And it really is fascinating. And you've probably heard before that they say that if you want to learn the piano, you need to have great perseverance and you need to have grit. You need to be determined and patient enough to go to the piano every day and practice on the piano. And when you're very small and when you're just beginning out, when you're just starting out on the piano, it's often not the most exciting thing in the world, because you're playing pieces that just aren't that engaging to you, or it just seems to be so time consuming, and also there just seem to be so many other things that you'd rather do with your time. As a small child, most children may rather be outside playing in the garden or playing with their friends instead of being on the piano. So it can be tough, especially if the parent is trying to force the child to play the piano when the child doesn't want to play the piano. So this is why it is so important to get the child to actually have a motivation to. It's definitely going to be easier for everybody if the child actually wants. If your child wants to play the piano, they have their own desire to play and their own motivation. And this can be helped out a lot if you absorb your child in music generally. So if you play music at home as often as you can, it doesn't matter what type of music, popular music, it can be anything. Could be heavy metal, it could be rock, it could be country music, it could be religious music, it could be classical music, baroque, it could be live, or it could be recorded. Just absorb your child with music and take them out to events if you possibly can, also outside of the house too, where there's live music, and make it just part of the daily life, so it just becomes normal. And another thing to consider is if you want your child to play the piano and to learn to play the piano, one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they actually wait until they decide they want their child to play the piano, so whether it's aged 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, before they actually go out and buy a piano. And so your child has had no experience perhaps of having a piano in the house, so they're not familiar with it, they've had no experience of playing on it, and that can be a bit startling apparently to a child. I don't know this from my own experience, because for myself my parents had a piano before I started to play, and my mother went in for, well, she'd taken piano lessons with a teacher first before I started learning the piano, so I was familiar with seeing my mother play on the piano at home, and so it was just like a normal thing to do. But I have been told there have been some horror stories where a child has had no experience of music in the house, so where the family haven't been playing recorded music or live music, there's been no music going on, and then all of a sudden, abruptly, they'll buy a piano and then tell the child to start practicing the piano when there's been no sort of lead up to it. So as early as exposure as you can get to the child for music generally would be good. And if you do want them to play the piano, if your child has told you they're interested in playing the piano, then certainly get a piano in the house first, as soon as you can, before you even start lessons. Now, of course, there are certain things that the child needs to know if you want to take them along to a local piano teacher. The child is going to need to be able to listen to instructions from the piano teacher. They will need to be able to differentiate between their left hand and their right hand. They'll be able to need to know certain things like up and down, and right to left, high and low, and they'll need to know the alphabet, so the musical alphabet from A to G. They need to know the numbers 1 to 5, well, 1 up to 8, being eight notes in the scale. So certain things like that, and you can actually save yourself quite a lot of money on piano lesson fees if you can actually go through all the foundational steps with your child before you send them off to piano lessons. If you can do that, you certainly will save yourself quite a lot of money. If, for example, the piano lessons are being charged at about, what, 20, I don't know, about £20 for half an hour lesson, or in New Zealand dollars it would be 40 to 50 New Zealand dollars for half an hour piano lesson. So if you send your child along to your teacher not knowing these basic things, then of course your piano teacher will need to spend this time teaching your child, and in only half an hour once a week. It's going to take quite some time. So if you can start on early, when your child's like 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 years old, teaching them the basic things, then, and also if you can, I mean, a lot of adults have studied the piano when they were younger as children themselves, but maybe they've forgotten it, or they've studied music at school. So a lot of adults already know the basic things, and I can quite understand that if you already know the basics, then you're not really going to want to spend your money on having to send your child to a music teacher too early on, when you're actually quite capable yourself of going through the basic tutor books with your child and teaching the basic concepts to your small child before they start lessons. So there are things you can teach your child, like the timings and the rhythms, and you can also teach them about, at a later stage, about how to read the music. And you can teach them about the dynamics and expressions of music, so that they're familiar with these basic things before they start piano lessons. If you can teach them as much as you can at home, then you could get them up to the level where they would be able to confidently sit and pass an exam in, the foundation stage for music, and then when they go to their local piano teacher, they could actually sit and pass, well, work towards a grade 1 piano exam and then go straight from there. So that's the aim of what we do here. And I've just, in learning about some music approaches myself for preschoolers, I've come across the Dalcroze approach, and this originated from Emily Dalcroze, who was born in Vienna, and he, out of his teachings, in his approach, he focuses on 3 parts of a lesson. So for every music lesson that you should have Eurhythmics, which is it's from the Greek word river, flow or river, and it's about movement and timing and things, and expression and dynamics. And then the second part of Dalcroze is learning about solfege, which is all about pitch. So it's like here you can see the you've got the lines here. So here we've got a stav which has got 5 ledger lines, and so as you go higher up the lines, you're actually going higher up the piano. So the pitch is going higher, and as you go down, you're going further down. So you can see these by the pitch. You can practice the pitch by actually doing it on the piano yourself, or you can get some bells and you can practice the pitch by playing the decibels. These decibels are from Preschool Prodigies, and you can also get an app. So if you don't want to buy the physical bells, you can also download an app, which they actually had for free over Christmas. I'm not sure if it still is, but it's worth checking out. They've got an app that you can download onto your phone or your tablet, where they've got the bells on the app, so you just sort of click on the bells and you can get the pitches from middle C up to the top C. Now, so the first 2 components of Dalcroze is Eurhythmics, and which is flow, rhythm, dynamics and expression, and solfege, which is the pitch. So those 2 things are very important for music. And the third thing for Dalcroze is improvisation, and this actually combines solfege and Eurhythmics. So with improvisation, this is when you get the student, so your child at home, you can go through Eurhythmics rhythm exercises with your child to help them develop rhythm, sense of rhythm and timing. And you can also do solfege exercises at home with your child, so helping them to learn the pitch and to help to train the ear. This actually, this sort of training goes very well. It sort of goes into the realms of singing as well. Well, you are singing when you're doing solfege. You're doing it on your instrument, but you also sing. And Dalcroze adopts what they use in kodaly as well, the hand signs from John Kerwin. So you do you incorporate, you use your whole body, so you're doing hand movements. So for the solfege, it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and then all the way back again. And then you've got in kodaly they use the colours as well, the rainbow colours, so it's quite useful. And in fact we've got the rainbow colours with these bells as well. And Preschool Prodigies do stickers too, which I find really useful. And you'll see in classrooms they have they do the colours for the notes on the boom rackers too. Right. So with improvisation, it's just a matter of getting the children to listen to music. So they have to open their ears up and listen, and then they need to respond. So after playing some music for them to listen to, you can get them to pick up their instruments, whether it's a tambourine or maracas or anything whatsoever. Piano, it could be them sitting at the piano, and just get them to go for it. Hear some music and then create their own music, and they can dance as well and do whatever they want to do. So so those are the 3 things, if you can remember. The Dalcroze approach to music is using Eurhythmics, which is a flow, and also using solfege, which is interval pitch training, and improvisation, which ties up the solfege with the Eurhythmics.